And welcome back to Dr. Margaret and Dr. Katie Speaks. We are doing, sorry for our brief intermission. We finally got Dr. Margaret back on, thank God. Yeah.
But just let me just say so everyone knows we have 122 degrees here and I lost the electricity for a second.
Yeah, that darn electricity. Anywho, but again, guys, if you're catching into the second broadcast, we are talking about crystal healing and chakras tonight. Margaret was talking about something. I can't remember what she was talking about.
Well, we're human. Yeah. I'll ask the one is to pick me up. Actually, what I was talking about was how I gave stories about my early childhood and my mother's healing with crystals and my aunt and her migraine disappearing. And then I went on to talk about how I was healing my nana and the energy was going all the way down and the spirit told me that I was helping her to pass over. So I was in school and I just knew. I was just sitting there writing and this teacher had asked about stones and I told her, I said that earlier on. And when I got home, you know, and asked my mom, how's my nana, which we call grandma over there. And I heard she passed. And I was so happy and I'm jumping up and down. I'm telling my mother, I helped Granny go to heaven. And she's looking at me like, what? So my mother thought I had a wild imagination, but I wasn't to be deterred. And by the time I was 21, I had become a medium in England, thanks to seniors who recognized my skills and kind of tricked me, a short version of that. If you want to know more about my life, you can easily get my book, My Journey into the Oneness. But what happened for me was that brought the crystals into the new age was there was a lot of seniors who used to come to spiritual churches. They want to know if grandma is okay and if they pass over, would they greet them and things like that, you know, in those days. And, you know, I was mentioning you can't get quartz, you know, there wasn't any quartz watches. So I just had pebbles off the ground that I was healing people with. And when I did finally find about quartz, it was because I was at an Ideal Home Expo and this guy had a piece of quartz. I'd never seen it, just like we buy today and don't question it, you know. And he was moving it backwards and forwards while he was talking about, this is in your watch. And I'm seeing the rainbows coming off it as he's moving it behind it. And I kept buggering him, you know, batter, you know, please, let me have it. And I was just a bother. And in the end, he just said, take the damn thing at the end of the thing. And I have that today. I use it as a pendulum. But my point here is that by I'm trying to think how I was 20, so it would be 1962 and 3, there was nobody talking about healing stones. And today, everybody is rushing out doing it. And there are books like by Melody, who's amazing. I loved her book because I could go to that book. I already knew what stones do because Spirit taught me, but I could go to her book and double check it. And she was right. So I recommend that book. If anybody wants to, you know, see her work, Melody, I'm trying to remember something like God's Natural Gems or something, you'll find her. She's always up doing and redoing her things, and I think that's very important. Of course, there are many websites now where you can go and find people who are selling crystals, and I am the possessor of hundreds of crystals today because I used to go over to Japan and teach them crystal acupuncture and pterogram therapy, and I was holding out this book, I think, when we lost connection. I'm just praying we don't lose the power again. But in this book is everything you need to know about the theory of what I was learning over these years. And now she's holding up, thank you. She's holding up the book of crystal acupuncture and pterogram diagrams. And to let you know just how far I've come in that, hang on, wait a minute, let's stay with the blue book. If you open that up, in fact, I can open it up if you want to. Inside, just flip through, show a few pages where I had to learn what crystals treat certain illnesses and diseases. Now, I have to really point out here that people did not know anything about crystals. They were playing. This is actually the same points as the acupressure and acupuncture points, but you can actually put the crystals on your foot, or well, if you can't reach your foot, have somebody else to do it for you, or you can do it on your hands. But what I was really wanting to show, for example, as the years went by and I got more and more aware of everything, I'm looking for my body syndromes, okay, which I want to hold out, because people don't realize, here's, for example, what we call the body syndrome for fighting. Now, when we fight, and I want you to see all those points on the back of the body, they parallel all the way up the spine. They go down the back of the legs and down the back of the arms. So if I'm healing someone because they've got back problems, then I'm going to have them on the front on the table. But that's not the end of it. Okay, wait a minute, I'm going the wrong way because I'm looking at it upside down. Sorry, everyone, but I think this is very important. You hear this before we get to chakras. So this is the front. So if I got them lying on the back, just look how many points there are on the front of the body and the feet again. And this, as I said, is the fight syndrome. Now, you might say, well, you know, what's fighting? Well, you could be fighting yourself. Yeah, I can, I can't, I will, I won't, I shall, I shan't, and all that stuff. You could be fighting your husband or your kids, but you're not fighting them in the sense of, I want to hit them. You're fighting the energy that's coming off people and things around you, or you are pushing out your negative energy because you're unbalanced and insecure at those people. And of course, when we mix energies, our auras are mixing, we end up feeling destroyed, you know, and that's what fight energy does. Now, I'm not going to show every page, but I am going to show you the guilt one. Here's the guilt page, okay? And what you can see, it's all around the butt and the lower leg and the arms, okay? And if we go to the front, I got the back there. What's the front? Okay, here we see the chakras. We can see the throat, the heart, the solar plexus, and the base chakra. That's very important to know that. And those points in the middle, you have to work on. I'll explain that when we do the chakras, but I want you to understand these syndromes if you're listening, because it's very important. Now, when we have guilt, you know, we sit and go over and over it and figure out what we're doing. And while you're doing that, these points are building up pressure points. And so you end up really in pain with your back. And there are so many people, including myself, that have been walking around with a backache because I'm carrying guilt, okay? Now, what about crying? Yeah, we all love to cry. And this here, get the right page, I'm trying to do it back to front here, is the crying syndrome. You see the man, I used to, and you can see all the points on the head to deal with, okay? Now, when you're crying, you're sitting and you're thinking, oh, nobody loves me, nobody cares about me, I'm the blob on the map and I don't exist, and you talk yourself into demoralizing yourself. And of course, people will come and try and give you attention and give you cuddles and tell you you're the greatest thing since cream cheese, but you don't believe them because you've so embedded your mindset to say, I'm not loved, I'm not cared about. And that blocks up all the points in your brain and all the other points I showed. So that's the third syndrome. And then the fourth syndrome, I'm only going to show the front here a little bit. Can you see that? Responsibility. This is a biggie. Look at the shoulders. Look at all the chakras I've got there pointed out. So when you have these, body syndromes, and you can have more than one, you could have all 5 of them. I'm hoping I mentioned all 5, but anyway, the book's available if you need it. What you need to understand is that when those points are jammed up, you're blocked. And so going back to the 70s, I don't know, when were you born? She's a baby, lovely baby. Yes. Anyway, around that time, I was birthing kids as well and bringing up kids and stuff. There was a lot of people now talking about blocks in their energy. Okay. And they related that to Tom, Dick, and Harry who's upsetting them, or grandma or someone who doesn't understand them, and they weren't seeing outside they were seeing outside, but they were measuring their traumas by what was going on outside of themselves. So when this major awareness came in that we have blocks in our energy, in our body, and I was talking about this all the time, giving lectures and talks, people were like, oh, and then the next thing I knew, we were seeing these great big pieces of quartz, and people were wrapping copper around it. And I don't know if you ever saw those kinds of things. Did you see those kinds of things, Katie? Well, and then copper pyramids came out. So the next thing was copper. Did you see it in a copper pyramid ever?
Yes.
Yeah.
When we were at the 5D conference, we actually saw the big copper pyramid with the plate underneath.
Yes, that's right. And you sat there and you felt it, didn't you? Now, what that copper does is it generates energy into the aura, just like crystals do. But it's more like shaking you like this. Whereas the crystals are following the meridians. Now, I'll talk about that more if you want me to. But the bottom line is that when, think of a river and think of the animals that come into that river and build their dams and otters and things like that. They're blocking the flow, or someone builds a real dam and they stop the flow of the river. So by the time some country is on the end of that river, they're not getting much water. Well, it's the same with your body. If your body is not able to allow your energy to flow through its meridians, which is like your riverbeds, to go all the way up and down all the time. And they also, and we'll talk more about bodies and things in a minute, but they also have to, like, if you think of a real river, it's got tributaries that go off in different directions, right? And so in the same way, coming off the meridians are these other little sub-meridians that take energy into other areas of the body. Those were the ones that I discovered when I was about 22, was so jammed up because they're much smaller. They can't carry as much energy. And so I would find like the main meridian is working okay, but the cross members of that were not working. And so I had to ask Spirit, well, it's not enough to just hold it. What do I have to do? And it was at that point that they started to explain to me that all the while I've just been holding pebbles on people's heads and doing things in different areas, that I was putting the energy, and I did always feel the energy from my hands. And I talked about this last time, and here I am opening up again with my hand chakra, right? So when I really open up, this comes peak too. And I'm holding this. And what they told me I was doing with those pebbles was I was charging the pebbles up. So they were like a sun. You know what the sun's like, it's radiating energy out in all directions. So when I was holding that on, say, my aunt, when she had the migraine, I was magnifying the power of the stone to blast energy through her brain. And I'm thinking, oh, blasting energy, that seems a bit rough and aggressive. And they said, well, you're only little, so you didn't have so much as energy now. And then they started to teach me that now I'm an adult, I can control this energy and I can know what to do with it. And as a result of being a medium, a trance medium, and bringing in higher vibrations and having physical phenomena in those nights and those kind of things, I was evolving and growing. So was my energy, and my own meridians were overloaded until I actually died. That's in my book, is it? But what happened was, when I came out of that, and you got to remember now I was 36, 37 when I died. So I've been doing these holding pebbles, and by then I'd found shards that, broken off bits. Because by then I'd got Master Chang in my head who would say, get the broken end, the pointy bit, and put it here and here. So he was teaching me, and he'd say, put it here on my arm. And then he'd say, watch the right leg. And I would watch the right leg, and all of a sudden the right leg would go, whoop, like an ideomotor response. Oh. So the energy went from this to the other side. How did it get there? Because I was still learning about up and down, you see. So that was when I started to learn about these little tributaries that go across the body. And that makes it possible for a reflex response on the other side. So I was growing in information. And as the time went by, because I'd been a nurse and I'd done all that study, so I knew my anatomy and physiology, which thank goodness helped a great deal. And so then they brought me, and I really want to explain this because people listening might think, oh, I have a stone, but I really want them to hear the seriousness of this. I'm sorry if I'm holding this here. But it came as I was in my center, and this is long before I came to America, and I had this mother bring this young boy to me who had MD, muscular dystrophy. And he was already in a wheelchair. So I got him on my table, and then Master Chang said to me, we are going to work on the left brain to move the right side, cross reflexes. Mm-hmm. So I'm busy doing this, working on all his different points in his brain that he's telling me, and he's telling me this is the point for this, and this is the point for that, and so on, which I won't bore everybody with. And of course, because I knew the brain and everything, I understood what he was talking about. And while I'm doing this side, I'm watching the right side, energies coming off his body, different colors, some were dark, like even magenta, dark to light pink, and then there was navy blue to blue, and it was all to do with his brain and how he'd stored all his fear, pain, anger, guilt, and losses into that right side of the body. Well, short version of several treatments, that side became normal, right? And so I was well pleased. My research is going very well, right? And then I talked to his mother and I said, we have to start doing the other side. We have to get the other side open. So, when I'm doing the opposite side, then it's going to balance it off. Guess what happened? She calls me up the first appointment day and says, my son's ill and he doesn't want to come. Resistance to change. And that was a very major lesson because his mom made actually several appointments, and every time he wouldn't come. And guess what happened? Given time, that side that I'd healed got worse again. I was so disappointed because, for medical doctors and people to believe what I knew, I had to prove it, right? So go back to these people who've got these big pieces of quartz now that are being mined and wrapping copper around it and making boxes and standing things on it. I was the guinea pig of the century. I didn't mind who it was, what it was. I wanted to experience what they were going through. And I found in a lot of situations, I was overloaded with energy. I started to become scattered. I didn't like how I felt when people were doing these energies, and I realized it was because I didn't know what they were doing. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had a treatment and come away feeling worse?
Well, that's exactly what I was talking about when the power cut just earlier, is when you are looking for a healer, anybody, do your research because this type of healing is not really regulated by anywhere. but the extensive knowledge that comes behind it, it's not like you can just pick up a crystal or just claim that you're a healer and go ahead and do it, thinking that you're going to help the client or the person that you're doing the healing to. I mentioned about doing your shopping, finding out whether they have the knowledge, whether they know the meridians, whether they know the chakra system, whether they know anything about crystals, anything about healing per se, because I know so many people, and I'm going to emphasize this. I know so many people that claim that they're healers, and they want to be healers, but they're really not. There's no background information to them other than they feel that they're drawn to become a healer.
Well, wait a minute, though. I've got to interject there. Going back to when I was a young kid, in the Spiritualist Association of Great Britain, where I worked tours for a while, that the laying of hands was the healing method. And that is since the dawn of time. We've all known we've got energy. The problem with the laying of hands is only one simple thing. If the person you're healing doesn't want it, it bounces off.
That's another thing too, but it's always wise to be the healer that is at least knowledgeable in the area.
Well, today, yes, but back then there wasn't any knowledge.
But I mean, there's so much. It's not like, and I'm not talking about the stuff that you can find on Google. Go back to the books. There are books that you can read. See, this is where a lot of people get confused with education. Yes, you can find a lot of online stuff, but the good stuff is the stuff through experience and reading books and having experience through or hands-on experience through the healers that have already been at a mastery level or of such a caliber that they can give you the knowledge and give you the hands-on experience to get where you need to go, so that you are able to do the same type of healing. I will say welcome, Stacy. Thanks for watching up on YouTube. And she just mentioned, Margaret, that she said, awesome personal experience. I wish I could be in the presence of a master of that caliber.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Stacey. I don't think of myself as a master because I believe that one must keep learning, keep studying, keep going further and further in whatever you can do. And there is no limit to how much we can awaken to, because when we come into embodiment with the DNA of our ancestors, and in my case I could go back to 1066, and so can you, and stuff like that, but we don't consciously remember those people. But let's say there was someone let's go even further, 800 BC. Okay, that's like, well, we don't know where we were, who we were, what we were, or anything, but you do spiritually. Could you met them all again in the oneness, and you have a big party if you like, but there's never any end to growth in the oneness. The oneness needs to expand and contract, expand and contract. Spirit guides ascend and descend. We ascend and descend. And here we are on earth in the mirror image of that. We expand our aura, we feel marvelous, and hey everyone, I'm enjoying myself, and then wham, something goes wrong. Oh, I pull in my aura, I'm feeling miserable and depressed, I don't know what hit me. We do the same here. Earth is the playground for the oneness. And so I don't look at negativity as bad. I see it as an awakening, a point of question mark to find more information. So coming back to the crystals, when I was doing my research, like on that young boy who dropped out, fortunately, Spirit brought me other patients that came and went. I wrote loads of notes and trundled off to different societies in England saying, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. And they look at me like, really? And they think I'm off the wall. So the one thing I found in England was, while they were all supportive to my mediumship, and I was very accurate, still am, they were supportive of that. But the minute I stepped into the healing modalities to explain how they worked, it was like, well, how do you know that? Well, the oneness taught me that. Oh, yeah, but who taught you physically? Well, no one. There was no one doing it.
And that is the difference between you and me, is that Margaret, and I've said this on previous shows before, Margaret is led, her knowledge is led by intuition and her her guides, her whatever her oneness is. And I'm just going to say that as a generalization of a term, because a lot of people out there are skeptical. And then you have me, who is the academic, hardcore academic, I should say, who likes to research everything and analyze it. But I will say to you, this something, it is actually something, a topic that I really haven't gone into, which is why tonight Margaret is doing a lot of the speaking, because crystal healing isn't something that I have learned yet, and let alone learn a lot about the chakras. Now, I will mention too that I do have a chakra report that I did last year in October while I was in Las Vegas at the 5D conference. Do you want me to bring that up now?
Yeah, you can bring it up. It's right. I'm not in a rule here.
I'm going to bring that up for everybody to see, and Margaret's going to tell you a little bit about what it actually is. So here it is.
Well, first of all, I have to say, I have to give my husband that passed 18 months ago a big push here, because he met Guy Coggins, who was never graduated from school, but is a brilliant mind. And he was breaking into understanding and knowing there were chakras in America. So we're looking 82 when I came over. I already knew about all these chakras in 62 when I was 20. I mean, I knew it before, but I didn't have the word. They were called spiritual centers then. Okay, we didn't have the information from India that they had an ancient word named chakras. And the first person that taught me that was French. And she didn't say chakras. See, she said chakras. So for all my life, I was saying chakras en français, because I could speak French in those days. And so she was telling me about that because she had been over to India and studied with someone, same as when I knew the Beatles. They were rehearsing, they were very young in those days. But they went over and I think they studied with Maitra, but I'm not sure, I can't remember, because there were so many gurus coming out of India. And one has to remember that India has all the records of the ancient aliens fighting over the top of their head, as does Germany, believe it or not. And so, I was interested in all that. I wanted to know what they were doing, why were they fighting and stuff. Well, I didn't get much answers to that in those days, but what I did get was this connection with India and the chakras. So I was able to listen to spirit and learn about them. So here we go. So anyone listening, pick my brains if you want to, call in. I'm here to give you whatever answers you want. The crown chakra is where, how the popes, wear these little caps, or the Jewish wear them, the monks shave it, okay? This is the crown chakra. And when it's open, it opens like a fan and it comes right down over your shoulders. In fact, the more away you are, the more it comes down your body. Okay, most people don't come down much further past the ears because they're too busy judging and listening and trying to understand what the world's about. But that crown chakra has everything you are in it: your past lives, your DNA, your spiritual consciousness, your journey here, what you're supposed to do, how you're going to do it, when you're going to do it, why you're going to do it. It's all there. But we are not taught to go into the back part, which is the deep subconscious, and pull that forward. It's very difficult to go back there and recall memories that you've got stuck in this life. So imagine you're trying to pull up past lives, or you're trying to pull up the spirit world. Unless you've got a spirit guide that's going to help you, you're kind of stuck with a kind of shape that will open up. And when you open up like this, you're basically saying, hey, I'm ready for love. I'm ready to be friendly. I'm ready to open my life to new influences. But when you close it up, you're saying, I'm connected with God and the oneness. I'm not bothered about everybody else around me. Okay, see the difference? Now, your third eye is over here. You see the Hindus put a cast here, a little dot, red dot, because that's to remind them that they have to perceive the world in their culture and understand that when something happens for a reason, even if it's a bad thing. Okay, so we are getting images that come from our deep subconscious. Occasionally they can flip through images of pictures in the midbrain and then come forward into the consciousness. But most people, unless they've done psychic development course, which by the way I've just sent you, I don't know if you got it, we're going to do that on Samaris. Yeah. When people can understand their psyche and work with the 5 senses of the psychic ability, then that crown chakra will open more, because your spirit guides are going to come in and they're going to stimulate your third eye. So you'll start perceiving images that mean something. And when you, let me give you an example. Suppose you saw an empty cup. You might think it means go out and buy an empty cup. But what they're saying is you're lacking energy. It's not full. On the other hand, if it's full up and overflowing, they're telling you you've got too much energy and you need to cut down. So symbols are very easy in the beginning like that. You can understand them. So when you come down from that vision into your throat chakra, this is where you talk. I'm going to tell you how egotistical I was a long time ago. I was about 23. And Spirit came to me and they said, everyone on this planet has a blocked chakra. And I said, except for me. Because I've been doing so much work on my chakra. And they just laughed. Well, years later, I realized I was just as blocked up as anyone else. Okay. And what do? We rationalize, we explain, we excuse, we fantasize. When we tell real stuff, we explore it and expound it and change it and so on. So there's a lot of garbage in here. And I'm actually working very diligently right now on this chakra. And of course, it comes all the way up to here. So here I want to stop for a minute and say the crown chakra opens like this, if you're really aware, and it's overlapping the third eye. So the third eye, when you open it, overlaps the crown chakra and comes to overlap the throat chakra. When you open up your throat chakra, that comes up and to the third eye and overlaps the energy of the third eye around your nose, which is sinus issues. And then it comes down into the thymus, where you generate new growth, cell growth throughout your body. And so they're in there overlapping, they're entwining. And that's why you see the snakes in the medicine symbol. Okay, you know, the 2 entwining snakes. Now, if you go down from the throat chakra, that's overlapping, you know, here and here to the thymus. Now you come down, I'm not standing up, so I guess I have to stand up to show. Here's my heart chakra. This expands like this, right? And it's in my hand up here. So it's overlapping the throat chakra and it's overlapping the solar plexus. The solar plexus overlaps the heart chakra and the base chakra, which is down here. Okay, your base chakra overlaps your solar plexus and the energy, it goes down your legs, private parts and all of that. So when you start to understand how all these chakras overlap, then you start to understand why energy has to go up and down your body all the time. And then you begin to understand that if they're working, that has to go out to the sides of your body. By the way, what I'm showing in the front is going on at the back as well with the chakras. So when you're looking at someone as an energy source, rather than, you know, and this is why Guy and people like that made the body faded out so you can see them, but you can see they're not showing the overlap. I suppose that would be a bit confusing if it was done as a small diagram like that. But you can see here that they've got colors in your chakras. Okay, and colors are very important because colors are the result of the energy vibration of how you're thinking and feeling and acting, moving and doing, and that's going on even when you're asleep. Okay, because your brain never stops, it's always working. The crown chakra is constantly in touch with the oneness, with the loved ones on somewhere else on the planet. You dream about them and feel like you've connected with them. You're talking to dead relatives who popped in the bedroom to say hi and let you know that they're fine, got your back or something. So there's a lot going on in terms of energy, and obviously I can't share everything that I would teach. So when you see the chakras, and you know that they're various sizes too, what we have to realize is they're funnel shaped. So if I make my hands like this is the front, is a big circle, and at the back, the same chakra is smaller. So if I turn this up, I see the difference. Okay. So that funnel goes through your body, and within that funnel is the core cycle, which is a cone, okay, that's spinning. And alongside it are smaller cones that are also spinning. And those cones have to do with emotional, mental, physical, spiritual things that you're doing in your life. And so when you're active and out with people, you are a busy bee as far as energy is concerned. Just imagine all this energy in your aura going like this all the time, and there's your brain trying to balance it all and keep it all in harmony, and keeping it up and keeping it down and keeping it going through and in and out, and there's just so much. So what does the brain do to help you remember? It sticks the emotional experiences that really stand out in your nerves, your muscles, your veins, your lymphatic system, and on into all your organs. So you are literally a programmed human. What do you think about that?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So given that we got the aura chakra report that we did for last October for March, what would you explain what the chakra report actually is, and what does it mean for people who are very new to auras?
Well, that's the next step. So I've just been talking about the cones, and you can see them going down the center of the body here, and they're going down the center of the body at the back, and we just join them together with a big part at the back and a small part at the front. Now that energy, as it's going backwards and forwards, is rubbing on itself. Okay, and that energy is creating 5 energy bodies. Okay, you have your physical body, so you know about your energy there. You run around the race course and you kind of hope you'll win, and maybe you lag and you lose, and you're disappointed. So you're the running mode, all your muscles, your nerves, feeling the body, feeling the wind in your face, feeling the ground under your feet as you fly around the course, is putting energy out. So your physical body is putting energy out as you move. Okay. Your brain is putting out energy as you think and talk. Okay. That thinking and talking we call into the physical form, we call the etheric body. And the etheric body is energy that dissipates, builds up, gets too big, explodes, dissipates, if you're letting go. There are people in life who never let go of their history, and they get very sick, very ill. MS is a very typical one, where they have scar tissue in the brain because they're running so fast in the brain can't handle it, and they burn some of the nerve endings, these little nerves and the axioms. And if they're really serious, they might burn a really major nerve ending that comes further down the body. But it's not unusual to see scar tissue in someone who has MS. So there's an overactive brain, And as a result, their etheric body, which should be somewhere, your physical body generates energy about 10 inches to 12 inches beyond your being. The etheric body overlaps that and goes probably another 6 inches further out if you're normal. If you are really sick and ill and going over all your issues morning, noon, and night, it's probably 2 feet beyond your physical body energy. They are constantly, so it's constantly doing this. As you think and act and do, those two bodies are entwining like this, coming in and going out all the time, and they overlap. Now, to get you to not be stuck in that overlapping energy and be ill, your spirit body comes from the back here. It comes through the crown, of course, but it comes stimulated by the back of your brain to send healing energy and rebalancing energy and dumping energy down into those two bodies. But if you're extremely negative, I have a patient like this right now, and it doesn't matter what I say, because the rationale is yes, but, and I have, and I have, and I haven't, and I can't, and I won't, and I will, and I can't. That person cannot see themselves because they're so locked into the physical body and what he feels and the emotions of his history and his past, and everything is mixed up. And when I bring this spirit into him, he becomes calm temporarily, because he doesn't know how to allow the spirit body to come in and shimmer off the parts that we don't need, and you dissipate it and you put it into the earth through the feet. Any questions about that? Okay. So once you've gotten the etheric body down to a minimum size, it's like having a hot water bottle. You filled it up with water and you're bloated with too much negative energy. Tip all the water out, it becomes flat again. So the etheric body has the ability to expand and contract. The physical body will expand and contract according to what the etheric body is doing, whether it's piling more SHIT in, or whether it's giving healing and releasing some of the stuff in the body. And the spirit is coming in, like you might want to call it the Holy Host for that kind of energy, or if you're Christian or Karma or whatever you want to use, it doesn't matter. The spirit body knows when it's out of sync with the lower bodies, and it will try to heal it. And you'll go into a deep sleep, or you'll suddenly have an awakening that, when you eat a certain food, it's wrong for you. Now, whether you make up your mind to not eat that food anymore is your choice. Just because your spirit's telling you don't eat it doesn't mean your lower self won't turn around and say, well, I'll just have this one more time, tomorrow, and that you don't quit. So will comes with the spirit to give you will, passion, desire to do right for yourself. And those who do suddenly realize from their spirit consciousness, oh, I've got the healing ability. Oh, I remember these events. These events taught me ABC. I didn't realize it then, but I realize it now. So there's an awakening that goes on. Now, at that point, because you're awakened, you now want to contact your spirit guides. So at that point, you dive into the next part of your aura, which is the higher mind. The higher mind auric emanation is spiritual consciousness. And so when mediums are reading you, they're using that part of, they're talking to their spirit guides through the higher mind body, and they're bringing it all the way through these other bodies that I've talked about to be able to give it to the person via physical forms. On the other side, if you're really ascended in your consciousness and trusting and without fear and anxiety, you could come out of body through that higher mind body. So I've had a couple of experiences there where I was lying there thinking, oh, I'm never going to go to sleep. I'm being awake all night and what this and that and so on. And I was so frustrated. I got up to go and get a cup of tea, and this is about 2 a.m. And then I went to put on the light switch. Damn thing, the electricity's off like we had today. But then as I thought, well, I've got to go down the dark. And as I went down the steps, I realized I wasn't in body. That's why I couldn't switch off the switch or switch it on as I needed. And so as I went down the stairs and round the banisters, suddenly I was in another room, in another place with some people who were all having a holiday in some hot country. And by the time I realized where I was doing things I wanted to do. I won't bore everybody with my stories there. And so I understood that I'd used my mind, my higher mind, to get out of my lower mind consciousness, that I was, not able to sleep, right? Now, the soul body is the last body. And so it's on the edge of your aura. So if you think about it, my hands are off the screen, so you just have to hear from here. Soul body, higher mind, spirit body, etheric body, your physical body. And with these little rivulets that I'm talking about, they're interacting. Those 5 bodies are interacting all the time. Sometimes you'll be very negative, sometimes you'll be very positive, and sometimes you'll be neutral. Okay. And so your aura, depending on if you're positive, it may swell right out. And if you're negative, you may pull it right in because you don't trust anyone. Or you're neutral, it's just there. Right? So that's how we function here in this world as a being. And every animal, every insect has an aura. Don't think about insects having an aura, do you?
Everything that is living and breathing, including the flora and fauna of the world.
Yeah, right. Plants too, trees. In fact, I used to lie on the grass in England and gaze up at these great big, what we call chestnut trees, and they have their little flowers. They're big flowers really, but they're all made of little flowers, rather like a hyacinth. I used to lay there and focus on those flowers, and I could see them literally doing this as they were taking in the atmosphere and doing whatever they do to purify it. Yeah, brilliant. It's so much stuff you can see if you open up your third eye to look. But most people are very afraid. Do you still need that picture up? Because I don't mind if you want to take it down. I'm not going to tell you about the chakras in terms of that, because it's much more involved and we're just introducing it.
No, I was just going to go into it because this is
you got something to say, sorry.
This report is that indicative of an indigo child. For those who are wondering what this report was all about, I basically did my report back in October last year, and this is exactly what came out. It is very, very indicative on an indigo child, and somebody who doesn't know what an indigo child is, well, in this case, for age purpose, I'm an indigo adult. But an indigo adult are very spiritual, and they are very, very intuitive people. They are born with superior qualities and seem to be wiser than their age. So these people, the top 10 characteristics of indigo adults are that they are spiritual, they're intelligent and curious. They're different, so they might be what's seen as the black sheep of the family, very unique in their own way. They are quick to get frustrated because obviously there is a lot, they're absorbing energies, they're empathic, they're sensitive. They also live with purpose. They are extremely wise, they're extremely creative, very, very intuitive, and they obviously, that's the psychic ability there. And they also very, very loving and empathetic. So for people who are wondering what this aura report was all about, that is exactly what it is. And there are a lot more stuff that you can dwell and find out about that report itself. But if you guys are looking for the information of that report, I'm happy to share it with you. No problem. Let me know and I will send you the information of the entire report. But until then, we're going to get on with the show. And
you know what? By you saying that, can I interject? Sorry. That egg shape, remember, it went below your feet.
Yes.
So if someone is standing on the floor, say on a 10-story building, obviously not in the building, then that 2 foot that's underneath is going through the ceiling and appearing downstairs. So while you're, I got an example. I was actually doing a class on the 5th floor, and on the 3rd floor downstairs was the office staff. And it was somewhere in between some other company, and I wasn't even thinking about this. But I was wide open because I was teaching, okay? Spirit guides with me and everything. And after it was all done, I went downstairs, and the staff there looked to me sort of weird, and they wanted and said, "What were you doing up there? Because we felt your energy down here." Okay, so I want people to know that that aura will expand according to when your spirit comes in, because your spirit body can be as big as it wants. And with the spirit guides as well, with me, because I was channeling and teaching at the same time, that was their aura in me. So they didn't only go take my energy down, but they took it to the people below. And I want to go one step further and say I was on the 7th floor in New York, and I had my students at that time go to find the edge of my aura. And 2 of them found me outside on the ground floor on the street. So I'm saying it's not, I'm not bragging. It wasn't me, it was spirit guides. They wanted these kids to know just how much energy we can create. And when you think about someone like Jesus or Siddhartha Buddha, who ascended in terms of the people of the time, they must have been feeling those giant auras going over them as they were doing healing.
I've had a very, very similar experience actually over the last couple of months. I've had people come to me saying that they've really said, "Have you said something?" I'm like, "No, I haven't said something." They heard my voice. I was nowhere near them. They heard my voice. And it's like, okay, no, I'm not talking to you. I had never said a damn thing. I was completely quiet. And yet here I am. And so it's another form of energy projection as well. I have the ability to say something without even being said.
Well, actually, it could be something else. It could be you doing it, because yes, we're all capable of transferring our thoughts into physical form so that other people can hear us. But it's also highly likely that your spirit guides used your voice, your energy, to connect with someone who needed to connect back with you. They do that sometimes so that otherwise you'd never meet or you'd never talk, So it could have been that. I'm not saying it wasn't. Who knows? You would know more than anyone else because it's your voice, as to what you were thinking and feeling. But it does require discussion on the part of the person who heard you as to what they heard. And then you have to ask yourself, well, was I thinking something like that?
Yeah, no, I did exactly that. And I wasn't even thinking exactly of what they thought that I said.
So it's probably your spirit guide said it. Yeah. But it doesn't mean you can't do it.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Stacey up on YouTube has said, "I am 3 years cancer free." Congratulations, Stacey.
Wonderful. Good.
But was given less than 18 months to live. I feel we have a choice to make, an exit or not. Sometimes am I close to truth or mistaken?
Now, when you ask a question like that, the bottom line is how much we can go through a revolution. So when you get, any situation, it could be a brain situation, it could be a cancer, it could be anything. I mean, we're just generalizing here. If you've come down to that negative space and you've impounded your body over and over again with beliefs that don't work for you, and yet you try and make sure they are right, and keep on arguing with yourself or doing whatever, yes, you can manifest cancer. But as soon as you find out what is wrong with you, you're in a shock mode. And a shock mode is pretty good, actually, because shock mode is switch off the brain for a minute and let this energy settle somewhere. And then you're open to new information. And when you're open to new information, these 5 bodies interact with this new information And when you're having treatments, whatever they are, when we go back to the old days when, they poked you and prodded you and did whatever, now they got pills and, everything changes. We've changed already within us. If we went back here 200 years and try to give them the medicine we were giving people in the 60s and 70s, we'd have killed them with that medicine because their bodies weren't made for that time. Do you understand what I'm saying? So people born now, for example, who might be diagnosed, say, with breast cancer, have a high chance of losing that cancer and being healed again. Whereas someone who's born in those, with the things that we have today that work, you went to someone back, say, 50 years ago to do those things that work, their resistance is up. I don't know this. This is new. I don't trust this. I don't have, I'm a Piscean age person. We have to have the facts. No matter how much you're doing the alternative, it bounces off them. Like that young boy I said, I was working on him and he just did not want to come back. And there was, I couldn't go into his house and say, you're going to get this done. It doesn't work. A person's got to be open and receptive. So Stacey, I'm really feeling you're doing good. I'm not feeling anything bad about you, but I am sensing your psyche is about to branch out in many directions with yourself. So you might want to get some classes, to get more aware. That will help you, because there's always a debris of negativity that we don't touch. By the way, all the negativity is stored down in our base chakra. So, when I've got anyone, I had another person just this week, I had her here for 4.5 hours with the counseling. And then I had her back here for 2 hours. I did a thorough intake on every illness she's ever had, every feeling, every thought, every this, every that, every treatment, every medicine. I wanted everything because I want to know what she's been doing with herself throughout her whole life. And then when that was done, then I had her on the table for 3 hours. And by the time she got off the table, she said, I'm like a new person. And all the things she was worrying about are gone. And all the things that were bothering her in her body were gone. Okay. It takes a lot of work when you're doing a whole person in a short time. Most people don't want to spend that much time working with someone. They'll say, oh, okay, come back another hour. And, I don't do that. And I don't make money the object. I mean, there's so many new agers who are out there, between your age and my age, who are saying, I will teach you for $1,000. I will do that. I can't stand. I'm in judgment on that, because our gifts are there to give to one another. And so I say to people, my fee is $125 an hour, but you give me what you can afford. And 9 times out of 10, I'll get $150, because that's all they can afford. And I would never, ever say, well, I'm not going to heal you because you can't pay me, or I'm not going to counsel you. Being a minister as well, you have to be there for them. Just imagine if you went into a minister and went up and said, I want confession, and he turned around and said, well, it costs you $50. Mind you, it might come one day, somebody does that. But, no, there's a rule. There's an unwritten rule in the oneness that you give. And then the more you give, the more you actually receive. It comes back to you. What goes around comes about. And then we had that. Do you remember Pay It Forward?
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Yeah, but that was a revelation when it started coming up. Now we take it for granted, and that's a valid point to realize. Never take anything you've learned for granted, and always know that what you learned then was your base, and there's another layer, another level. Like me with the crystal work, I can honestly say that in my 50s and 60s, I thought I knew everything.
Yeah, and
I didn't know it. I didn't know anything. I mean, I couldn't have done this book with all these diagrams, and I'm just going to see if I can flip through. I had to draw all of these for all different illnesses and diseases. I did not know how to work the computer. Hey presto, I sat down. I said to Spirit, help. They brought me 2 Japanese women while I was over in Japan who taught me how to do that.
And on that note too, I know you've mentioned quite a few times. So you are now 79 years old, but you when you take off the one layer that you want to take off through your healing journey, you then discover more healing that you have to go ahead and dump and go ahead. So just for those who are like, oh, okay, healing and trauma is an overnight process, and that's the way it is. I'm going to spend a couple of months with my counselor or go for a couple of sessions with my counselor. It's never like that. When you walk away from a therapist or a counselor or a healer or something of that type, you have to continue on and action and persevere through your own journey, but take away what you have learned in order to learn your lessons so that you can grow and get rid of the traumas or whatever the case may be that you're healing from. So one thing after another. So like the reason why I said Margaret's age is because she's still at her age is still going through and dumping whatever's necessary, layer layer after layer after layer. I do the same thing each and every single day. So and this is the whole point why we actually do what we do, is because we're teaching this stuff so that you can do it yourself. You can have either the education so that an awareness so that you can heal yourself, or you can become a healer yourself the proper way with the proper education.
Yeah, and let's interject here with the fact that those who don't work on themselves and blame and shame everyone else for their life's discomforts, whatever it is, they're so bunged up, as it were, and blocked in their energy, and they're constantly remembering whatever happened, and even probably revamping it and how should we say, expanding it with imagination, so to make it twice as worse as it was, and so on. And we're very good at that, you know, making everything 10 times worse than it was originally. And we believe it. We believe ourselves because we're telling ourselves, you know, I remember when, and then this, and this, and this, and this. So, yes, we do put layers upon layers as we remember and recall. But guess what's happening to those chakras? They're slowing down. And they're symbolic that if you see those cones, and what I didn't say earlier was that the base chakra only has 4 cones, whereas the crown chakra is 144. So they're doubling as you go up, and they're all working for different purposes and reasons. So if you are really full up, let's make the image of a garbage can. Okay, it's full to the top, it's over brimming. How can you add anything else in there? By jumping on it, thumping on it, doing something, pushing it down, compressing it? Well, that's what a lot of negative people do. They just, oh, I won't deal with this. I'll just push it down. And so they get sicker and sicker. But those chakras become like wilted petals on a flower. The cones start expanding, opening up, and flopping outward away from the body. And so when I want to give people something they can do, you rub your hands together like this, real hard till they're so hot, and then you slap it. Oh gosh, I'm bitty buddying myself. That's, I went into Japanese. Bitty bitty means, you know, like electrical, like static electricity. But if you do that and you just keep rubbing this and you do each one, you can do 2, because you've got 2 hands, you can do 2. That will start the cones to stimulate, to speed up. But if you don't dump what you're thinking, they'll get all flaked again and hang out like a, you know, a dying flower. So you want those chakras to be, and you can do circles. You know, again, I have to stand up so you can see. I'll do my heart. Okay, real fast. Clockwise, and then anti-clockwise. Why? Because the one at the back comes back to the front is clockwise. So when you do clockwise at the back, it's anti-clockwise at the front and vice versa from the front to the back. And they entwine and they rotate around one another and they send that energy up and down.
Now, Stacey just mentioned too, she said, thank you for sharing your thoughts and experience with me, us. I will certainly look for a course. Of course you can, Stacey. We've got the Samoa's Education Center over here. Like I said, connect with me and I can show you all that information plus the aura report on Facebook. Yeah, just find me, you know, and maybe after the show we can talk, or you can call in. She also said, funny, you quoted the exact figure and 1,000. The last practitioner wanted to activate me so I could have access to my gifts. And I basically said to her, activating gifts are just that. A charge should never be the priority. So, which is exactly what you just mentioned. And then she said she mentioned up on YouTube here, can we activate our own or do we need another to do it?
Well, yes, of course you can. I activated me all through the years because there was nobody who knew what I knew. So I had to do what I knew that the spirit guides were teaching me. However, the spirit guides were doing it to me, really. I mean, as I learned, and like today, if let's say I know today I ate something that upset me, so immediately I went and got my crystals out and I was doing the meridian from these fingers, because this is the part of will. I know my will wants to get in there and clean it out. So I was doing that and I was spinning my chakras and doing all that before I came on the show so that I'd be stronger, and I am stronger, as you can tell. I wasn't dropping flaky around with it, but you know, it was annoying me. It was, and since I've done that, I haven't had any cramps, so I'm fine. But you know, it could be very simple. Like if you've got a migraine or just a regular headache somewhere, just rub those hands together and do that and breathe. Breath is the breath of life. Remember, without oxygen, we're going to die anyway, whether we like it or not. 1 minute you're breathing, next minute you're not. I remember that was one of my biggest fears when I was a child, swimming like a dog. Didn't want my face to get anywhere near the water because someone chucked me in the deep end, and I went under several times. And thousands of kids, it seemed to me, there was probably a couple of hundred in the pool. Nobody saw me, and I was like going down, coming up, going down, coming up, and I suddenly thought, I'm going to kill myself unless I swim. And so I was doing like this, head up, got all the way to the side. It seemed like I was miles away, but I was actually probably 3 yards away from the handrail because he pushed me with great force into the water. I went flying because I was small and he was running fast, you know, and probably thought I could swim, you know. And so I went down the shallow end and practiced my doggy paddle. And did that for about a year, got pretty good at it, and eventually could do my hands out like this instead of like this. And then I got into swimming classes, and I was confident enough to know, you know, to do that. And just to push forward here, why things happen. Years later, I was in a lagoon with my husband in Mexico, and he had the first heart attack. We didn't know. And I had to life save him. And had that boy have not pushed me in the water, I would not have gone to swimming classes. I would not have passed the life-saving course, and I wouldn't have been able to save my husband. So I want people to understand that those bad things aren't necessarily bad. They're just the first lesson in stepping you along your pathway to go and do more and learn more and be more. So if you've had like a dream experience and it's frightened you, discuss it with someone, learn about dreams, understand that dreams are not necessarily, even if it's bad. Like I had a dream where I was running away from something and I got into mud. And I was struggling, and this is years and years ago when I was a teenager, and I was struggling, and I couldn't get out of the mud, and the mud was pulling me down, and I'm thinking I'm going to drown. And then I heard, you know, in the mud, and then I heard, put your hands up. And I put my hands up and suddenly I was soaring like a bird. Okay, change of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't force that, it just happened. Our spirit can save us if we listen to it.
Yes, it definitely can.
Mm.
I'm I'm a natural when it comes to that, because I already knew that I was activated. I just didn't show that I was activated because I I was always perceived to be the different one, the unique one, the something about me was off that people couldn't put their finger on, and they thought that because I was different, I was just outcasted. So I kept it silent. And so there's a difference between knowing when you're activated naturally, as opposed to actually being activated by somebody else. But I will say that we do have another question up on the chat on Facebook actually this time. So Ted says, so I'm new to the chakra thing, and I'm using meditation to help me heal. There are times where I feel energy go around my head and go into my ear where it burns and sometimes hurts. So it burns in his ear, that is.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on the energy to help me heal, or what? I can say this, that sometimes I get that same energy to happen even outside of meditation, and it happens when I feel really emotional too. Now, I will let you know that backstory. This is somebody who is
Don't tell me.
okay.
If you're going to tell me, you can tell people afterwards, because the media in me has to work. Okay, the first thing is right now we are all getting, even balanced, healthy people, getting things going on in the ears because of the planetary system and the way they are in the heavens, and the fact that we're coming over to the center of the universe as far as we're concerned. So it's affecting us in the brain, and the brain relies on seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, five senses, and touch, of course. So what is happening, when we get pain in the ear, it's like I'm hearing either myself speaking too much negativity, or I'm hearing other people around me who throughout my life have been negative, because Mercury's gone direct, Uranus and Neptune are also working on the brain. And so it's causing us to look at issues. So I would say, first of all, that he needs to allow whatever he heard that made fear, pain, anger, guilt, or whatever manifest, so that he is not blocking the throat chakra. Because remember, all this works together. So when you're hearing, and I'm looking at you, you said left ear, but I'm feeling right ear here for him. And so right side is the lower self in the physical front of our body, is the side of mind that is listening with a practical physical sense. The left side listens with intellectual sense. So if I'm right and he's on the right side, then we're looking at him dumping physical complaints and things that happened all the time. There's a lot of male energy here around. What do you say?
Left ear.
Left ear. So why am I getting? Does he get it in the right ear, or is there something going on this side of the?
He'll comment and let me know in a second. But
oh, you know what? I'm looking at me, and I'm seeing it. No, you're right. I forget. I'm looking at the mirror image of myself. Okay. Yeah, that is, if I turn my back, that's my left side. I'm looking at the right side and I'm seeing energy. Okay, sorry. That sounds like an excuse, but I forgot. I forgot I'm looking at a mirror. So they were just saying to me, you're looking at a mirror. That's what they actually said to me. I didn't say I was doing it wrong. So yeah, the left side. So now I have to explain the left side. The left side is the intellect. So that means throughout the life that you've lived, you have taken in all this information and you're trying to sift through it and realize a lot of it doesn't count for anything. So are you speaking about it? Are you talking about it? Are you saying, I'm changing my mind, I'm changing my point of view, I want to do things differently? And when you do, then it'll happen on the other side. Okay. Does that make sense? I forgot. Yeah, I've all turned upside down now. Sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. What I see on my screen is actually flipped up onto social media. So when it's broadcasted, so I get confused all the time.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't even think about it. Yeah.
Good.
So what's he say? Is he responding?
Yeah, no, Ted is going to call in.
Oh, okay. That'd be nice. Yeah.
For a little bit, and until he calls in, and so we can talk to him. And Ted has a little bit of a background, so I will say that I have been talking to him. I know that he is going through some stuff and very big traumas right now. So yeah, Ted,
He'll tell us. Yeah, because
but yeah, for those who do want to call in, our phone number is 929-436-2866, and the meeting ID number is 522-657-2748. Again, 929-436-2866 with the meeting ID number 522-657-2748. I didn't mention it earlier in the show, but yeah, that is the call-in number. It's always written in the description up on YouTube description and on Facebook Live and various other little platforms that we have. You'll always find that number. So yeah, if you do have a question for us, you can either text it to us on the comments section of the video that you're watching, whatever platform you're watching it on, or you can call in and actually ask us directly.
Now, I would like to say, looking at your lovely picture you've got behind you with all those nice little stones in there, I'd have given my right arm to get those when I was 15.
Sure.
And now they're to a penny. And people don't realize that if you put one of those on.
We have a caller.
Yeah, I see. If you put them on, you're going to get better. Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Welcome to.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi. Yes. So, yeah, like I was saying, I'm just definitely been trying to get into meditating. I'm sure she kind of went over I heard her talking about my background for a minute, but I had to get off because I was using my phone to watch the video. But the thing is, yeah, I'm in recovery. I actually I've been kind of like going through a spiritual awakening for like a long time. And I put myself through horrible experiences with my drug use where I was seeing things, and experiencing horrible stuff. And as I'm in recovery now, I've been meditating. I've been focusing on getting my health back in order. And that means my mental health, my spiritual health, my physical health, and just finding out where I'm at in life and everything. And but yeah, when I do meditate, I basically feel like this thing go into my ear, and sometimes I don't even need to be in meditation for very long. It happens even 10 seconds after I start meditating, after I start breathing for a moment. And what makes it even more powerful is when I'm feeling more emotional, and I'm feeling strong emotion towards my energy.
Well, number one, when you're feeling stuff in your ears and you're meditating,
right.
then what you're actually doing is opening up the channel that runs through the mid-ear into the back of the brain here, where your spirit guides are trying to communicate with you. And that makes you become clairaudient. And when you become clairaudient, you can hear sentences. I used to hear a lot because, I'd be in the kitchen, say, and I'd hear someone in the living room, and I knew my kids were in school and nobody else was in the house. And I would hear something like my name being called and come here. And I go into the room, no one there, kind of thing. Who is it? Who's here? And silence, But guess who most of those people were that I heard then? They were what we call earthbounds, people who died but haven't gone over to the spirit world, the astral or heaven, whatever you want to call it. And so, you might be, if you've had something to do with death or people around you have had something to do with death, you might be
Right.
connecting with someone who's trying to tell you, I'm fine, I'm doing well.
Yeah, my dad just died like 4 weeks ago.
I didn't want to say online. I was holding that back. I'm sorry, but I knew. Okay. No,
Okay.
we don't want to bring up your issues to the
Right,
public.
right.
Yeah.
I hear you. I hear you. You know,
Mm.
and I appreciate that. It is something that I do have sometimes a hard issue about sharing things, but at the same time, I'm coming out with a lot of things because I want to be an inspiration to a lot of people in life, especially with people that have a bad background with drugs and with addiction, and people that have had people that pass away. I want to be a person that can help counsel people do a lot of that.
But do you realize if you hadn't have gone the pathway you did with that, as indeed I went down and died, we wouldn't come back and or recover and go on to be the healers, counselors, teachers, and so on. I mean, you think about this psychologically. If you go and see a doctor, and this happens all the time, and they sit there, well, what's wrong with you? Well, I got earache, I got a headache or something. Oh, well, I'll just write you out this script, and off you go, and you believe them, and you trust that, and they know nothing about you.
Right.
That's why I mentioned earlier, it took me over 2 hours, 2.25 hours to be exact. I did look at the clock to get the woman's intake of everything that had happened to her in her life. Because, sorry, when you're healing it, what are you doing with your throat chakra? I'm losing my voice. Are you frightened to speak and teach?
Am I trying to what?
Are you frightened to speak and teach?
I think what it is, I just have a lot of like I have a hard time forgiving myself, which I'm working on, and moving through that. And yes, I mean, I don't have a lot of fear to speak and teach. I think I have a lot of fear that putting myself out there will put, I've been attacked a lot by like darkness a lot in my life. And I think a lot of times I still kind of fear that,
Yeah, that's, you just said it. You have a fear of sharing the negatives of your experience.
Right.
And that actually the negative experiences there's 1,001 people out there who are having those same negative experiences. And if you keep them closed in you, you'll never be able to say, I know how you feel because I've stood in those shoes. And if you think about what I was going on to say was how doctors just write scripts and they don't know anything about you. A metaphysical person who's well trained will want to know all your secrets to help you leave them behind and grow from them. Okay. So you definitely need to find someone to work on this throat chakra, because I almost lost my voice, which was a way of saying that you're not speaking up. Okay. But on the other side of the fence, we rummage in our brain and go over and over and over situations. And then that can be a negative that doesn't get you out of the, don't even play this, doesn't get you out of the pit to play the game. Right. Okay, well, as you can tell, I got guides in my mind because I would never use that analogy. Do you play or did you play? Baseball or whatever it is. I just feel like you need to, be less fearful of being exposed about what you've experienced, because that can help a lot of people who are still stuck in the darkness to see you as a model that they can then say, oh, I've got hope, and tell me some more. And that might give me some courage to try what you've tried to do. And then that will show you the teacher in you see.
Yeah, someone even brought up to me the other day. They're like, "Hey, have you ever done a YouTube video?" Because I'm at a place right now where I share a lot of like what I went through with people and everything like that. And this one guy was like, "Have you ever thought about doing a YouTube video about inspiring people and stuff like that through recovery?" And I was like, you know what? I've kind of thought about something like that, but that does sound like something I could definitely do.
Well, I think I just confirmed it for you.
Well, just,
So
just another confirmation here, Ted. I will tell you that Stacy who's listening over on YouTube has just written in here, I'm a 9+ years clean and sober. Please let him know I'm rooting for him too. I wouldn't.
Oh,
I'm a specialist.
I'm sorry. What was that last part?
She's now a peer support specialist.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so you can go out and play baseball and get your body moving, get your energy going, and instead of saying I can't, you can, and get the will and the drive to move on from there. I've actually been dealing with someone, and I've got him down on the baby level. I told him to go to 99-cent store and get coloring books, jigsaw puzzles, crayons, crossword puzzle, because that's where we have to go when we get negative. Everything we've ever done throughout our life is stored in that brain box.
Right.
And every energy that we've had during that time experiencing that, whatever situation it was, is stored in our body. So if we're really ill and sick, you can see how much negativity we've stored. So yeah, I had Parkinson's disease. See how steady I am? And I haven't eaten today either, so I should be shaking a bit. Okay, so when I went to get rid of Parkinson's disease, I had to go through layers and layers, and I had chiropractic treatments because my bones will go out. And even now, today, I go once a week and have my chiropractor realign me, because we still go out. You bend, you stretch. And what you don't realize is, like, if you get something out of the cupboard, your brain might be saying, please, miss, I want to go pee. And the next thing you know, oh, I've got to go toilet. And you don't know that that's come from your 5-year-old kiddie wink that wanted to go. Yeah. The body speaks to us.
So yeah, like you're mentioning that you brought up the fact that I play something. I don't play anything. The thing is, I have been working on getting back into my working out though, and I kind of struggle on that a little sometimes.
Well, the baseball I was seeing was when you were young.
No, I'm actually a big baseball fan. I have a baseball tattoo on me. So I haven't really played baseball. I always wanted to when I was young to play baseball, but my parents never allowed me to join. So, that's one thing I've always wanted to do. To play baseball growing up.
I'm not making excuses here, but it's a good example that this has come up because, okay, you didn't actually play baseball, but in your mind, you've played it. And that's what, like if you sit on the sofa and cheer them all up and, oh, they missed it. Oh, you're playing it. You're in it. You're identifying through sympathy, empathy, vibration. So it still comes over to me as you played it. See what I mean? So there's no reason why you couldn't go out with a kid and have them play with you and try and hit it.
I hear you on that. Yeah. I definitely hear you. And the thing is, I like you were saying earlier, that I could be a really good person to help, bring people to the light. And that's one thing that I had an epiphany about. I've been having a lot of epiphanies lately, and it's been hitting me that, I have a high calling out there, and I'm still trying to figure it out. And I'm using the healing, I'm using the meditation as much as possible. There's times where I do fall into negative thinking at times, and that's when I just got to learn to push myself and keep going and saying, you know what, I can't give up because I know what's out there for me. I've, like I said, like my addiction brought me to the lowest point to where I started even having psychosis out there with a lot of things, and to a point to where I was hearing a lot of things from the other side, and it wasn't good. And I didn't want to deal with that stuff. I was like, I'm done with this. I want to just live life. I want to live life in the light, and I want to do the right things for people and help people out. Especially now since my mom passed away 5 years ago. My brother passed away a year ago. My dad just like 4 weeks ago. And just being able to just push through and become strong from it and learn from it and heal from my trauma from the past and just use the healing to help other people through their problems.
Well, let me say this to you and hope it helps, that
Okay.
the bottom line is your journey coming from the oneness into your body, inside your mother's womb.
Right.
When you're inside your mother's womb, each one of us inside the woman's womb, because men can't do it, we share the mother's energy with that spirit to spirit, heart to heart, mind to mind. So when we come out, we aren't innocent babes. We know everything that the mother knows. And if the mother is negative and worried and hasn't got any money and being abused or whatever, there's so much that could be going on in a family situation, then the baby pops out with all that subliminally stored at the back of the brain. And so as you grow up and you experience these hands-on negatives, you also attract to you negative earthbound spirits. Earthbound spirits are people who have died, but when their spirit guides came up to get them to take them to heaven, they said, I don't want to come. I'm still worried about my daughter, or I don't believe you're a spirit. I think you're a phantom. And they won't go with them. And so they're left here. And then they go around to their home or wherever they can and try and find help because they're still thinking materially. And then they get frustrated because they can't be seen. And maybe they walk in the room and the whole family's crying and miserable. And they say, I'm here. And they still feel very physical because the mentality of who we are in the physical form is in the spirit. And so, I was actually at a wake years ago in England, and everybody was there. And all of a sudden, I felt someone tap me on my shoulder, and I turned around to see I was standing next to a wall, and there was nobody there. And then I heard, help me. And then I realized that the person who was talking to me was actually the dead person that was in the coffin that I did the funeral for. And so I said to her, come with me. I went out in the garden, didn't tell anybody anything that was going on, talked to her in my mind, and asked the spirit guide, and her grandma came and her great grandma came, and they took her to the spirit world. And then I came in, and guess what? All the people who'd been crying were laughing.
Right.
I said, I was out in the garden, I missed something. I said, oh, just somebody sang a song that was Mum's favorite song. And we just laughed at how she used to sing it because she didn't sing it very well. So here's energy in this world, my energy and the spirit world energy, and the person was rescued.
Wow.
There's a lot goes on in the oneness. That's why I want to teach it to so many people online. And I've just given Katie the psychic development she'll be putting up on tomorrow's education center. But she's going to do some things as well.
Well,
Go ahead, Ted.
Oh, no, I appreciate you guys' time. Unless you had something to say, Katie, to me, I do have to get off the phone.
Absolutely, we can talk later. That's fine.
You sure? I mean, I could listen for a quick minute.
No, that's okay. No, we can talk later. I was just going to continue on with the show. That's fine because we're
Okay.
trying to round it up here very, very soon anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, I got to get up. I have an appointment I got to go to at 6. So.
Absolutely. We'll talk.
All right.
Thank you so much for calling in.
Yes,
All right,
thank
you're
you.
welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you for the info, for the information and everything.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us talk. All right.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's a very important situation when someone calls in, because it gives us an opportunity to expand what we plan to talk about. And we are improving anyway when we do this. And I thank you for letting me do most of the talking today. But if people can call in and tell us where they're at and what they're going through, we can help them, and we can also maybe give more fuel to the fire that we're teaching or talking about, and more interactions, and then maybe we'll get more people calling in, because we haven't been doing this very long, and you're putting it on Facebook. So we want to give a shout out to anyone that was thinking, I'd like to call in, but I'm nervous or something. Don't be. Okay.
And you only need to talk about what you want to talk about, because we will pick up the rest of it, because you don't have to tell us your whole background and entire life, because we are attuned to intuitive, our higher powers, our spirit guides, the oneness. We are attuned. So you don't have to tell us anything. You just have to call in, speak what you want to speak, and then we can tell you the rest.
And it's interesting because, you know, being that we can channel, we can get input that you might not even think about, or we might not even think about to mention, like, you know, with him mentioning he was on drugs back when, you know, that's a very important thing. There's a lot of people who are probably listening who are on drugs and admiring that he's got so far away. So people calling in might be able to give some of the, this is what I did, you know, things to get themselves. So sharing your skills is also valuable.
We do want to reach out to those people who have been through addiction, substance abuse, or any type of addiction, really. People, men and women who have been through domestic violence, men and women who, or their family experience of what they've been exposed to through maybe abuse or substance abuse. Like a third party experience. How do I deal through this? Because we don't know all the answers, but we certainly do know some practical approaches that you can use that might actually help you on whatever journey you're going through, whether it be spiritual or whether it be mental or whether it be physical. It doesn't really matter, or emotional. It doesn't really matter. We can at least provide you, you know, some advice. Now, I will say to you, these shows that we do every Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, what I will say is that they're very, very improv. We don't have any notes in front of us whatsoever. We're not even reading off of anything outside of the call-in telephone number, but that's about it. But that's about it. This show is all about, you know, freely educating you and growing your awareness so that you know what the next steps are and you know exactly what you're getting involved in, especially for like crystal healing and chakras tonight. A lot of people don't know the full extent of the knowledge, and neither do we, because everything is always evolving. And so always new information to put out there. There's always something else to learn that is something that we haven't learned before, and it's always good to have that engagement from people just like you, the everyday person who is also on their journey, because we want to know what you're going through and how it's helping you go through your journey process, because that journey process that you're going through may actually save a life or help another.
And, you know, we started off with the chakras, and I've explained all that. But what I didn't tell people is, and I'm amiss here, I don't keep one nearby me either. But I haven't, have you got Telegram handy? Otherwise I have to get up and leave the front. But I got the Telegram. You know, okay, just hold one up. If you put, no, that's a Trinity. Yeah, no, that's a Trinity. The Telegrams are geode slices. Everybody knows what a geode is. And I get them. Yeah, there we are. There we go. I've got a kit of them, and there's 6 of them, and you put them on your third eye, your throat, your heart, your solar plexus, and your base. But what I didn't talk about, that I'd like to speak about before we wind up, is the spleen chakra. Yes. And I'm not going to go into all the detail because we did do this on another show. Remember, I showed where it was and everything. So that'll motivate people, hopefully, to go and have a look at that's when we talked about the telegrams. But if you put your hand on your right hand on your, like, flat down, so that your hip, let's do this. Your hip here's my hip. So I'm putting it on there. And this is my right, I'm looking at the thing, it's all reversed. My right side. And then here at the back on my hip, here is the other end of it, the left side. So you're looking right and left, okay? And you can do this, I showed you in circles, and you can rock. And then to close it, stretch your hands down to your side. And that will balance your energies of those 5 bodies that I described that make up your aura. I want to give a shout to Guy Coggins. He's still with us, and he has a very technical mind. So back in the days when I met my husband, it was hokey. We had a Polaroid camera in a box, and he had a refractive energy mirror and a light. That's all was in there. And the idea was you, first of all, attune to the person psychically, and you snapped a picture, and then that would be the auric emanation. And then after that, you put the person, take a second picture and put the person in it. That's how it was done. Today, the one you went on was electronically controlled. What my husband did once he got to know me, before we got married, we even were doing this, we were able to take out the refractive paper, take out the mirror and put just something that would reflect energy back into the camera lens. And we hung my quartz crystal, 2 peer steering quartz crystal I had, we hung them where the mirror was, and the light was still on, refracting energy into the lens and take the picture at the same time. And so we went back to Guy Coggins and showed him the results. We did a lot of tests and with it all in our own research. And I've got the picture still today where my husband had the camera exposed, the lens was open, and I had to walk very slowly across like this, and then he shut the shutter. And we saw that the dark energy backgrounds showed up my body. The light, like the wallpaper behind me, I wouldn't have shown up. And we questioned that, and we started to understand that spirit guides, in order to speak with us, and this is very important information people need to hear, in order to speak with us and show us films and capture things on the cameras and things, whatever they can do today, because they still do it, you need dense energy. They need the dense, because they're so light and up, and they have to come down into solid sort of energy. So they want you to be grounded, they want you to be focused, and they want you to be spiritually, psychically aware, because you will be walking down the road with your phone, and all of a sudden, you don't know why, but you see something and you got to snap it. And there is some color on that film, or, you know, something that wasn't there. That's how spirit guides do it, with the physical energy of the world, your sense, and just instant do it. You can't plan it.
No, and that's exactly right. And some of my best photos that I've ever taken, and a lot of my photos that I do post up on social media and that, then they aren't enhanced by filters. I'm not wearing any makeup to make myself stand out. But some of those photos that I do have, I kind of keep to myself, but they actually obtain orbs, and many of them. I have flying around me all the time.
Do you know what the orbs are?
What's that?
The spirits. Because you see, when we're out of body, we don't take up space.
No.
When I was medium in England years and years ago in my 20s, I joined a physical phenomenon circle where they'd been sitting for months and nothing had happened. And I come in to sit down the first day and it all happens. And to do that, I was out of body, and I was just like this blob up in the ceiling watching them. I had no consciousness of any form beyond anything. I just was knowing. And so whenever I went into that deep trance, I was always that little blob. And if I come out of body and I want to do some research, I won't bore everybody with it now, but I will say that all of you, if you are trying to look at yourself in the form of your body now, and let's say you're deformed in some way, when you create through this orb shape of what you are to be likened to your body, your spirit body has no illness, no disease. So you look at the age you want to look, and you appear to people that you don't know. So here's another little story. I know we're over time, but it doesn't matter. I'm okay. Are you okay? Yeah. This story is very interesting for me at the time. I was a mother of 2 children, 2 and 4. So I was 24, I guess. And I went away for a couple of weeks. And I came back, and this woman came up to me and grabbed my hand and said, "Thank you, thank you." I'm like, "Who's she?" I don't know who she is. So I said, "What are you thanking me for?" So she said, "For all the information you gave me when we were at the park." And I said, "Well, when was that?" Because I couldn't fit anything together. And so she said, "Oh, it was such and such a day, whatever." And I quickly realized I wasn't around. I'd gone on this vacation, right? So I said to her, I think you're mistaken. She said, "Oh, no." And she said, "You told me this story and this and this, and it was true. Those stories were true." And I'm thinking, what the hell? How could I be in 2 places at once? And I said to her, "Was I physical?" She said, "Oh, yes, you were just solid." And I'm thinking, "Are you sure you got the dates right?" I'm asking all these questions, you know. And I couldn't answer it. And I went home that night and I sat down and meditated with Spirit, and I said, "What happened? I wasn't there. I don't remember the conversation. Did I come out of body? How did I get form?" And Chang said, "Oh, it was just easy. I just took your form and appeared to her and talked to her and told her all the things that you would have said." It wasn't me. So spirit guides can, if they connected with us, they can use our body, they can appear. So he took my form, and they can appear, it's manifest and real and touch you. And I've had that happen too through my life as well. I've been sitting chatting away with someone, and I turn like that to get something like this, turn back, empty chair. Yeah, that was a woman talking to me. So, and I knew she never went anywhere because it was in my home, not here, another home. And I was the only one in the house. Kids were all in school, and she was with me. And she said she'd come for a session, but she actually was working on me. I could feel it when I was giving her a session, but she was working on me. Spirit guides can do a lot of things.
They can, but many people aren't attuned to it, so they are either skeptical or just think it's not working for because their mental or their subconscious state is not in the right place. It's not aligned.
And of course, we're all old souls. Everybody, says, well, when I say old souls, we quantum it with like young, mature, old, ancient, and so on. But from our time span of consciousness, we're all ancient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Incarnated, call it what you will, for a millennia, more than we can fathom. I will say that Ted has written one more thing up here. One thing I forgot to mention is that I have been seeing flashes of light, and I know that it's a spiritual. There is a spiritual meaning behind it.
I would double check that first before he assumes that, because it could be that he's having an arcing in his brain, and that means he needs rebalancing. Get the medium to rebalance him, heal him. I'm feeling that more than it's spirit.
So if you hear that, Ted, double check, by all means. Can he reach out to you at all?
Yeah, you've got my email address. You can give it to him when you talk.
Yeah, so I will pass you on the email address, Ted, so don't worry about that. We can connect you there. I will mention too, since we're going to round up the show, for those who are listening right now on YouTube, thank you for listening and communicating with us. Like I said, I am over here. If you see me talking and I'm always looking different directions, it's because I'm monitoring on social media and the platforms to see if anyone's actually commented. So don't think that I'm not looking at you through the screen. I am kind of doing multiple things while doing this show.
And we have to give a thank you because for your skills, because without you, we wouldn't be sitting here.
So for those who are for those who are listening and has kindly commented and provided some commentary for us and questions, for those who called in, thank you so much for participating. We'll say that those people who are listening, who have caught the broadcast either live or after, please go like, share, and subscribe. Go over to the YouTube channel. It's Soma Fusion, Mind, Body, and Soul. Go over there, like, share, and subscribe. The videos on there. We have many, many, many shows, from education to yeah, a whole heap of stuff. But no, go check the channel out because there's a lot of stuff up there. I mean, we have multiple shows. I think we have 8 shows on Soma Fusion Media now, and we all have different information, different causes that we talk about all the time. So the ladies are beautiful and brilliant. That I can do. They're gems. I couldn't support them enough on this network. But I will say go over to all of the social media platforms and go like, share, subscribe, find us wherever we are. If you can't find us, just Google us. We're out there, we're cool. But you can go catch Margaret's shows. They are put up onto SoundCloud, and that's soundcloud.com/Dr. Margaret Speaks. If you follow us avidly on social media, you will find the new archives that are put up as they come out. So please keep an eye on that. There are multiple pages, especially up on Facebook, that is broadcasted all of this. So it's worth to follow to find out the information that we do put out so that you are completely updated and attuned to what we're doing. You could also go over to the samaracenter.com. That is center with an ER, not an RE.
Samaras Education Center.
No.
Oh, sorry, I'm interrupted.
No. samaracenter.com. That is where Margaret's PR stuff is. So if you are looking go over to Margaret's PR stuff, Samaras.
Forgot about that.
You can go to easypeasysolutions.org. That's where we're going to be doing all of our talks, the free talks that we're doing up on relationships, fear, anger, pain, guilt. What was the other one? I keep
Loss. Fear, pain, anger, guilt, loss. Yeah.
Not remembering the 5th one. I'll remember it one day. The samaraseducationcenter.com is where you're going to find all of the actual courses that we're going to be doing. The universalchristchurch.com is where you'll find the ministerial courses that we do, as well. If you would like to become a minister or a spiritual healer, or spiritual practitioner, spiritual counselor, call it what you will, different names, same thing. And also go over to askdrmargaret.com, and that is where you'll find all of Dr. Margaret's stuff, and you can go find out some good information over there. Along with that, you can also go over to somafusionmedia.com and soma-fusion.com. That's where you're going to find all of my stuff. Please look out over the next few months. I'm not in a rush, but the next few months there'll be askdrkatie.com coming out very, very soon for you guys who will have all of my information and an outlet for people to communicate with me and find out exactly how they can be helped.
That's very important to understand that. Right now, especially with there's another flare up in Japan of COVID, because I do counseling for them online through Zoom, and I was teaching over there for so long, and they're locking them down again, and there's other, Africa's getting it again. So we're going into another threat through the COVID, and that makes us, in the overview, think more about communications this way. And so, just because you're in another country, it doesn't mean, as long as you speak English or have an interpreter, that you can't talk to us and get help. And as we said, we're both ministers, so you can get free help. But we also have to pay bills to be online and do all that. So donations are wonderful. And also, Katie's got all that information again. you know, and she's working really hard with her own life and all the things that she's doing with me. And so we really need people to understand the work that she's doing to bring forward the dream that I've had for so long of having a university online of metaphysical studies. So I'm pitching again here for you both. We need teachers. I can't do it. I mean, I could do every single class, but we would be online morning, noon, and night. I'd be a zombie. So no, and there's different people who teach the same thing, but they have a different slant and different ways of doing things. And we need those teachers to come forward and offer to be teachers with us. We will have to know your background and whatever, but we're getting almost ready now to start working with SamarisEducationCenter.com, where I'm going to teach psychic development. Decided to start that, but we've got these talks too, and Katie's going to pick some dates soon, so that we'll have people come on. She'll do some, I'll do some, and we'll go from there. But hey, there's 24 hours in the day. The global consciousness is all over the world. English is a good language, pretty well in most countries. So if you are a person that has been teaching for a number of years and you have classes, courses, lectures, workshops, all of that, we're interested. We want to know about you. So Katie's going to give you our contacts now, and I'll shut up.
Okay. No, not literally.
I don't think I could.
Anyway, so our contact details is samarisUCC@gmail.com. You can also email the same, or use the same email to drop a donation if you wish, to the Samaris Education Center and the Universal Christchurch. So again, that email is samarisUCC@gmail.com. That's Samaris, SUMARISUCC@gmail.com. If you are looking to get in contact with both of us, so obviously that's the best place that you would contact it, either or. We both use that email, so it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can email us with your queries. Of course, we have some more contact details. You can contact us directly through the website. You can also sign up through the website as well. You can also use that email to sign up, and not just sign up, let us know what you want to hear on this show every single week that we do it. Like I said, we do a lot of these shows that are impromptu. We just come up with a subject and then we talk about it for 2 hours pretty much. And so we want to hear from you guys what you would like to specifically hear when we are on this show every Saturday night, so that we can better educate you in the area that you want to have knowledge in.
Yeah, and there's such a vast, I mean, it's such a panoramic choice of topics out there, from things like how people are surviving with no food, you know, or, you know, topical things. We don't want to get political, okay, but things that are happening in the world are very important to understand. I was watching news just the other day where this particular country has no electricity. So they can't even get the vaccine because they've got no fridge to put it in. Just one simple example. There's a lot of worries. There's a lot of things going on. And countries have karma. Countries have destiny. Countries have important roles to play. So even those that say a third world could become the major leaders in the great Aquarian age in maybe 150 years. We don't know, we won't be here, but we do need to know that we set the foundation stones into people's hearts. So even if you only attend a lecture, it's going to make a difference.
Exactly. And I do want to bring up one last thing too. I am also helping raise money for the Katie Kamara Healing Center in Rakai, Uganda. If you would like to help with this, you can go over to or contribute, I should say, or to become a volunteer or help out in some way that you can. This is a humanitarian project, so please be aware of that. It is under if you go over to Fundly, Katie-Kamara-Healing-Center with an RE this time. It's the English way, not the American way of spelling. You're going to find the Fundly account, the crowdfunding account, so that you can contribute. We are looking for $3,000 right now to pay for 12 months rent and for the power required to run a building for a healing center. We are going to be servicing 1,000 rural women in approximately, and that includes to provide medical services, running a small birthing unit, holistic healthcare and education. So this is so that we are basically building it to enable, sustain and empower a thriving rural community of many women and children who lack the basic resources, skills and education to live the best quality of a life of life a human could possibly have, for future generation, for now and future generations to come. So if people want to jump onto that humanitarian effort, then please, either you can contact me at the Katie Kamara Healing Center at gmail.com, or you can go over to social media. There is a Facebook contributions tab. You can also go over to that, or you can go over to the fundly.com page as well and contribute that way. If you're wanting to contribute another way, please contact me.
You know, I'm just thinking while you were saying all that, that the shows that you have, the shows that I have, and there may be other people who have educational shows who might volunteer those, because they do have a computer, right, that they can attune to and gather together around and watch. These third world countries need us to stop being self-centered about COVID and reach out beyond this. We need to, I mean, just imagine if they all know how to do the crystal acupuncture that we did last week, and there's crystals in their land. They don't even have to be cut by jewel or anything. They're just, there. They can pick them up and they can be doing their healing. I mean, one of the most amazing things that I discovered was if you do the crystal acupuncture on the hands during pregnancy, it goes easier. The baby comes out sweeter. And when they're born, I do the rebalancing. I've done it to many babies, including all my grandchildren, do the rebalancing of all the chakras along their back down to their bottom, to get rid of the shock of birthing. And those kids, I've noticed the ones I've done are much smarter, they're quicker, they're softer, they're tender. The ones I didn't, they're bullies, they're aggressive. And there was a couple of grandchildren I never got to because I couldn't get over there. I was in Japan, different things at the time. I did it later when they were like 2 and 3 years old. But by then, the RNA had set in, the DNA was working. I went, okay, so we have 2 aggressive children in this family. So it's not bad. But if people are out there who can share their skills, their talents with people like this, who are eager, so eager to learn, we want to hear from them.
Yeah, exactly. Is there anything more we need to say before we?
No, I think I've run off at the mouth too much. You got me on my topic.
Okay. So for all of those out there, we hope you have a great weekend. It's still the weekend, isn't it? Yes. And for those parents out there who are on summer break, Lord, I know I love you. I know what you're going through. Anyway, so I do hope that we see you next week, every Saturday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, and we will catch you next week. Please look out on social media for any announcements or what the topic is going to be for next week. So we'll put that out. And also, again, email address, samarasucc@gmail.com. Let us know what you want to learn about each week. Tell us what you want to hear. If you need to reach out to us for healing, use that email address and communicate with us. Also, let us know what you want to learn through the Samaras Education Center, UCC, the Universal Christchurch, and through easypeasysolutions.com, and of course, the Soma Fusion Academy. Until then, we will see you next week. Fair and square, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. See ya.
Yes, don't forget us. Bye-bye.
Love you all.